Hey out there, this is Thursday, February 18th, 2021. And it is just about 7:35 in the morning here in Northern California. I was just listening to that song by the Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil. You know, that sure got some interesting lyrics. I kind of like it. I mean, it sounds good to me. And I think, it says something for the teaching of Christ that we should love our enemies. It's a curious thing, but it shows the distinction between the way men think and between the way God thinks. We've always got to understand that God is miles ahead of us in terms of wisdom and knowing right from wrong, and just intelligence and maturity and all the good characteristics, qualities, and attributes that man learns. He's learning them because he has that connection to God. And loving our enemies and this idea of sympathy for the devil, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. And, giving a damn, loving one another plays into that. I mean, I tell you, folks, I just think it's so important that we purge our hearts every day because there's so much crap that we pick up. We pick it up on our own. We pick it up from our environment. And I'm talking about just the interconnectivity that's inextricable between us as a race, as a species. It's incredible. I mean, we are connected, and we've got to understand that our welfare is each other's welfare. And when we can see that, we're seeing through God's point of view, and we'll understand how to find true happiness. We have not only a right, particularly as Americans in the Constitution, to pursue happiness, genuine, true, real happiness, lasting, like permanent happiness, the real deal. But we have a duty to do it, a responsibility, an obligation to try to be happy. And it's in exploring that, researching it, investigating that idea, that you stumble upon some truths. And one of those truths are that we are, as a race, as a species, inextricably interconnected. And that's straight from the horse's mouth. I mean, I'm not hearing voices in my head or nothing. I'm just saying that you have the same connection. We all have equal access to our owner because we're all equally beloved and cared about, loved. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just, to me, it's fact. It's because it's logic. It's simple stuff that a child can sink their teeth into. You understand? It's the rock. That's why Christ is called the rock of our salvation. Everything else is just sand slipping away. And this world is ephemeral. It's temporary. I don't want to just live for this scene, man. I started watching a YouTube video, and this clown's on there with a 6-minute video. I think that's not too bad, but I mean, YouTube's got to get with what's on TV, 15 seconds tops, something like that. I mean, spit it out, get it out. This is what you're peddling. If you want to learn more, go here. I mean, come on, you guys. That's these ads that run over an hour sometimes. I mean, I guess people have a lot of time with coronavirus, but who's listening to these things? But this guy, he's bragging about everything that he's got and who he's hobnobbing with and his luxury cars, and he's showing pictures of them. And, it makes every man's mouth drool. Of course, we're all equally worldly. We can all be equally evil and ephemeral and carnal and just worldly. Okay, we all love those things, material things, and we love the glitz and glamour and everything that comes with it. Wow, we're somebody. Look at me. I'm successful. And it's just so much fun just to have that stuff, those material things, to have possession, ownership, what is called ownership, which is really usership. I mean, we're all delusional. Okay, we've all been trained to accept delusion as the norm. You understand? We're screwed up. We're working behind the 8 ball, all of us, because of the original sin. So we're easily taken advantage of by the evildoers, the evil men running the show. You got to understand that because they're evil genius. And the reason they have an advantage over the normal, decent, righteous people that just want to live and let live, want to try to be happy, is that they're willing to do stuff. Okay, I don't envy these guys. Having all this, everybody should be able to have it, but feel good about it. We can't be extravagant while we let people better than us, for all we know, better than us, the homeless, desperately poor, suffer needlessly. Needlessly, that's a matter of fact, irrefutable fact, incontrovertible fact, unequivocal fact that it's unnecessary suffering. We spend $100,000 a year. I've heard reports higher in California. They fudged the numbers on Google. It was showing only about 70,000 per inmate per year in California. But I've heard other people say it's well over 100 when you get right down to it, which wouldn't surprise me. One inmate in jail, criminals, rapists, murderers, and crap like that, safely ensconced behind bars, given 3 hots and a cot. They don't have to work. Free rent, free utilities, medical help, reintegrating. But yet we're going to be taught this is okay. We're delusional to think we can be happy. How could I ever enjoy prosperity? Aren't you shameful? Aren't you guilt-ridden? I mean, what is wrong with our species? What is wrong? And then I'm the guy that lacks compassion. I'm the xenophobe because I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry from south of the border from fallen countries. Why don't they stand up in their own countries? You understand? They're just coming here because it's, in their minds, in their perception, the path of least resistance for them. Okay, they're not wanted in there. The overdose of people in these countries is what these evil rulers down there feel. So that they feel it. They don't want to be where they're not wanted, so they come here. They say, well, at least, you know what? I'm taking the smart way. I'm going to escape, and I'm going to find prosperity in the land of opportunity and milk and honey and all that, America, right? Well, are they being shown images of homelessness in America? Are they? Are they coming here? What is happening to these immigrants that come here, legally or not, housing-wise? How are they? I don't see them in mass out there. They're not the ones out in the campgrounds. Okay? People south of the border, you can make a generalization. They look a certain way. Okay? They're different in appearance. We all know that. Okay? So I'm not a racist. I'm not a xenophobe. And I'm for letting everybody in the world that wants to come to America come once we get our own act together. But to me, it's completely illogical. It's absolutely indefensible. It's unconscionable that we're letting our own native-born American sons and daughters, we've been trained to accept this by tolerating it. We're all showing that we accept it. I haven't taken a bullet to the brain for the cause of stopping it. I mean, it's a behemoth. It's a juggernaut of pure evil that we've all been trained to accept. We're so screwed. We're so screwed by these evil men. This murderous gaggle of thugs is tiny, itty-bitty percentage. But it's a critical mass, the amount needed to get the job done, to create the policies we all have to live under, which are insane. They're totally illogical. They're sick and twisted. It's the analogy of the frogs in the pot of water is perfect for what happened to America. Okay, in my estimation, Max and Stacy could disagree. They always point to 1970 and the Bretton Woods agreement with going off the gold standard, all that crap during Nixon's presidency. I'm sure that was an increment, okay, in the downfall of this country. But this is what's happened. In 1963, JFK was assassinated. You know what he was doing that was the most controversial thing? He had already begun circulating a new dollar. You got to understand the implications. Okay, who's affected by that? And who stands to benefit from his assassination, from his elimination? What gets me is, how did these people know that along with the assassination of JFK would go the dollar he created for the American people? Sound money. You think this country would be in debt today? Minimum wage workers would be even Steven with all the middle class people out there by now, easily. That's according to true capitalists' supply and demand theorem. Okay, it creates a rising tide of prosperity that lifts all boats. It doesn't swamp some boats while lifting others to the highest heaven. That game is not being played fair. It's rigged. It's manipulated. There's collusion. And it's a juggernaut of pure evil. I'm telling you, it's going to take the very hand of God. We've got to. You want God's hand of protection back on America? I'm telling you what you got to do, friends. You better end homelessness permanently. No more of this BSing around. People say, "Oh, it's expensive." We're spending $50 billion a year out the window. You know, it's like I came up with this analogy on my own, but it's like having a little hole, a pinhole in your gas tank. That's why they started this program. It was to subsidize the housing costs for the poor that couldn't afford housing rents. You know, even when rents were like $50, literally. Okay, some people couldn't afford it. They were struggling at that. You see, but if there was any progress, by now, even those people that struggle having a $50 a month rent would be able to easily pay it. In fact, they could be homeowners by now, living a middle class life. Okay? When minimum wage was $1 an hour, you understand, people were living a middle class life. One person working in the household, homeowner. Do you understand? That was the America I remember as a child. Minimum wage today could be 50 cents an hour, but be worth more than that dollar. That'd show a little bit of progress on the true capitalist supply and demand front. It's just what happened to the VCR. When you say in the early 80s, nobody could afford them, they were $1,000. By the mid 90s, they were $50 on sale. Okay, do you understand that your VCR dollars went through the roof? That should have happened with everything else, because we find easier and easier ways to produce all the things we want and need. Housing and all the equipment used, the state-of-the-art implements, tools, okay, the heavy equipment, everything else, we can stamp houses out like pancakes. There's an excess of housing in America. You check out the statistics for yourself. Vacant available housing. Okay, but it's being regulated by those that control it. You understand? It's just like an investor coming to your town and saying, I want it all. So he teams up with a banker, they collude, and they go out and they buy everything, and they make a fortune, right? Because the banker, the more he lends out, the more he's making. You understand how this works? And the investor, he just buys it up. It's no longer for sale. You understand? It's off the market. So he put a huge demand. One investor, one aggressive investor. Okay, you understand how this works? You think that's fair to allow that? Yet we do. Then they call it capitalism. I know capitalism. I mean, if there's one thing we respected under capitalism, it'd be the worth of labor. We wouldn't marginalize, subjugate labor. That's unethical. It's immoral. It's ungodly. But yet, we've all been trained to accept it over a long period of time. The analogy of the frogs in the pot of water. Okay, you got to turn up the heat slow, and that's what they've done. And we're cooked. We're done. The good news is that the rubber's meeting the road. When you start seeing too many people, educated people out there, that it's hopeless for even them to be a homeowner in California. For a lot of really, they're making good money, but they can't. That's how bad it's gotten. It's